So as we near the end of season 7, I wanted to put together a list of some of my Outlander favorites, if you will. So this will be a series of videos where I talk about my favorite episodes, my favorite character moments, things of that nature. So we're going to start off with my favorite episode from season 1, which has to be episode 12, titled Lallybroch. Season 1 for me in so many ways is my comfort season, but this episode in particular provided so much as a viewer. These two have been working towards this moment and finding this place and a little bit of peace since we first met them in episode 1. So to finally reach this one goal of theirs together was a monumental moment in their relationship, and also as a viewer in the show, it was kind of like this big breath, like big sigh of relief that we all collectively get to share together. And even though it is so short-lived, this glimpse into what their life here is like and would have been like, and just this moment of much needed pause in the much grander, larger story of their lives was really wonderful to see and to watch. It was a beautiful episode. And Jamie and Claire love each other deeply by this point in their story, but they don't verbalize it to one another until this episode, standing in this room. They've definitely shown their love for one another in their actions and in their commitment, but to hear the words spoken between the two of them was just really, really beautiful. And I think for Jamie, this episode is just paramount because this is a place that entirely shaped him as a person. He was raised here, yes, but he also carried the weight of this being his home and the weight of the people who are back there inhabiting it while he is away. He carries that with him daily, and also the loss of his father that was very significant for everyone that lives in this place, and the remorse he feels for not being able to see him buried or mourn him properly and leave Jenny with so much responsibility in the aftermath. And he also feels ashamed that he cannot and is unable to return home and live there as a proud son and become the laird that he was destined to be. But to bring Claire home to Lallybroch and show her that has been his singular goal since he met her. To have the woman he loves in the place that he's longed for, and, to make her ring out of the key to Lallybroch, and because it's the only thing he can offer her, there's just so much of his entire personality wrapped up in this place and the people there. I think Lallybroch will always be a part of him, and it will always be home to him, but sharing it with Claire would make him feel whole. But as we see in this episode, when Jamie is unable to become the laird, that responsibility then falls to his sister Jenny and her husband Ian. Now, Jenny is probably one of my favorite characters in the series, and in this episode, she truly, truly shines. She certainly proves her mettle in more ways than one and exposes Jamie's weak points in very subtle but effective ways. And she's held this place together without him, and she's managed to start a family of her own and has loved and supported Jamie from afar in any way she can. And they're both so stubborn that I think being able to witness their fiery kind of natures go against one another is really fun, and also to have her not necessarily compete, but bounce off of Claire's energy, which is very similar, was very entertaining for me. I think for me as a viewer and a book reader, you can see aspects of Jenny and Jamie's personality reflected in each of them. Jamie was so young when his mother passed away. He was 6. And when Jenny was attacked, his father died. And so they both grew up a lot earlier than they needed to, and what was fair. But they both took very different approaches to their healing, I would say. Jenny has chosen to take on responsibilities and be busy with those responsibilities. And Jamie is both unaware of and disinterested in a lot of those responsibilities, as we see. But he believes that he's able to step into this role of being a laird with ease. And Jenny makes it a very big point to show him that being a laird is far more than having a title. She teaches Jamie so much in this one episode, and it makes an immeasurable impact on Claire to meet her. And Claire says it in this episode herself, that being there, it makes her feel like she might actually belong there. And there can mean many things. There in that house with Jamie, there in that time with Jamie, 200 years in the past. she's just like finally happy and content and in love. And I think as a show watcher, as a viewer, this is the first episode that we get to see and know that without a doubt her love for Jamie is real at this point. And it's also the first episode where we see people close to her, including Jamie, actually be allowed to imprint on her emotionally, because up until this point I think she's remained very guarded with the idea of her going to be leaving this place in time shortly, and now she's actually invested in these relationships in a way we haven't seen prior to this episode. She hasn't had a family, and these people are willing and happy to accept her in a big way. And Claire's first true introduction to this accepted life takes place in this episode. We know by the end of this episode they are once again thrust into danger, but for a moment it's a much needed episode of reprieve. And similar to Jenny having a big impact on Claire, Ian Murray is also hugely influential to Claire in this episode too, because he is a window for her into who Jamie was as a man before she met him. Ian was with Jamie in France. He's his childhood best friend. And I also think Ian represents the life that Jamie would have had he not become an outlaw. I think in many ways, Jamie looks at Ian and sort of pities the simple life that he lives, because he wants adventure and all of the excitement that comes with it and the mischief of being an outlaw, and that just runs through him so naturally. But Ian also shows Jamie what a life with a woman you love and kids and, like this very centered, content life with a woman could look like and feel like for him. And now that Jamie has Claire and that's a real possibility, I think that changes everything for him. Ian's also a great window into who Jenny is as a person for viewers, because Ian softens Jenny's personality. Like, he interprets her actions for her in a way that we as viewers, but really Claire is the catalyst for this, can understand why she's so difficult and stubborn and really has a heart of gold, especially towards her brother, but also anyone who she deems worthy of it. And that Claire just kind of has to hold out hope that one day Jenny and her will break through that tension and she'll be part of that inner circle that Jenny holds so dear. Ian feels like the anchor for both of the Fraser siblings in many ways. So yeah, his impact on this episode was huge, and to have so many people that we've grown to love interact with someone like that was really entertaining too. Also, in meeting him in this episode, we really get a sense of who young Ian is, having now met his father and the person who shapes him. So yeah, this house and this land is the cornerstone of the show in many ways to me, and this episode always makes me smile when I watch it. It might not be the most action-packed episode of season 1 or have kind of the most important plot points in terms of moving the storyline along, but it's in many ways to me the real turning point of the story, because it's such a break amongst all of the cruel realities and hardships that plague Jamie and Claire, and really a window into their souls and other characters as well, especially Jamie, since we learn so much about where he came from and who he is and what shaped him so much.